Hold up, this ain't just another rap debate. This is where things start getting real uncomfortable. Because when you hear someone like Jim Jones put his name in the same conversation as Nas, you already know that's gonna shake the room. But what nobody expected. The pressure didn't hit online first. It hit in real life. Yeah, imagine this. All that talk, all those bold statements, all that I'm on that level energy, and then suddenly, you run into Nas face to face. No edits. No cuts. No viral clips to hide behind. Just you and the moment. And that's exactly where things start to fall apart. Because now it's not about opinions anymore. It's about respect, legacy, and standing on what you said. And when Maino found himself caught in the middle of that tension, you could feel it. This wasn't just content. This was pressure building up from every angle. See, in today's game, everybody wants viral moments. Everybody wants to go crazy on podcasts, say something wild, and let the internet do the rest. But what happens when those words follow you into real life? What happens when loyalty clashes with truth? Because let's be honest, comparing someone to Nas isn't just talk, that's stepping into legendary territory. And once you cross that line, there's no going back. Now the question is, was this all strategy? Or did things just spiral out of control? Now the question is, was this all strategy? Or did things just spiral out of control? Because once you really start breaking this situation down, it stops looking like a simple rap debate and starts feeling like a calculated move mixed with real emotions bubbling under the surface. See, in today's content-driven world, controversy isn't accidental, it's currency. And someone like Jim Jones understands that better than most. He knows exactly how the algorithm works. Say something bold enough, something unexpected, something that people feel they need to respond to, and instantly, all eyes are on you. And that's exactly what happened here. The moment Jim Jones put himself in the same conversation as Nas, it wasn't just a statement, it was a trigger. A trigger for debates, reactions, podcasts, clips, and endless commentary. Suddenly, everyone had an opinion. Some people laughed it off, others got defensive, and a lot of fans took it personally. Because Nas isn't just another rapper, he's legacy. He's history. He's someone whose impact shaped entire generations of artists. We're talking about Illmatic, an album that didn't just succeed, it shifted the culture. It influenced artists, created new standards, and built a foundation that many rappers today still stand on. So when you compare yourself to that, you're not just entering a conversation, you're stepping into a space that demands respect. But here's where things get interesting. Because while the internet was busy debating, someone else got caught right in the middle of it all, Maino. Now Maino isn't just a random voice in this situation. He's connected. He moves in the same circles. He understands both sides. And that's exactly why this situation hit different for him. Because when you're tied to someone like Jim Jones, you don't just share the spotlight, you share the consequences too. And that's something a lot of people don't think about. It's easy to go viral. It's easy to say something wild on a podcast and watch it spread. But what's not easy? Dealing with the real-life moments that come after. The unexpected run-ins. The awkward conversations. The silent tension that builds when words turn into reality. And that's exactly what happened when Maino ended up face-to-face with Nas. Now think about that for a second. All that noise online. All those statements being replayed over and over again. And then suddenly, you're standing right in front of the person your camp has been talking about. No script. No preparation. Just pure, unfiltered reality. That's pressure. And you could tell it wasn't just a casual moment. There was history in that interaction. There was awareness. There was that unspoken energy that says, yeah, we both know what's been said. But here's where Maino made a choice. Instead of backing away from it, instead of trying to clean it up or distance himself, he stood on loyalty. He stayed aligned with Jim Jones. And on paper, that sounds solid. Loyalty is respected. Loyalty is valued. But in situations like this, loyalty can also put you in a very difficult position. Because what happens when the person you're standing behind says something that can't really be defended? That's the real dilemma. And people started noticing it too. If you really pay attention to Maino's recent interviews, his body language, his tone, something feels off. Like there's something he's holding back. Like he understands the weight of the situation, but at the same time, he's trying to navigate it without creating more problems. And that's not easy. Because in this industry, perception is everything. One wrong move, one wrong statement, and suddenly you're trending for all the wrong reasons. And when you're already tied to controversy, every move you make gets magnified even more. Meanwhile, Jim Jones? He's moving differently. He's leaning into it. He's embracing the chaos. Because from his perspective, this is working. The attention is there. The conversations are happening. His name is being mentioned alongside one of the greatest to ever do it. And in today's game, that kind of visibility is powerful. But there's a flip side to that. Because not all attention is good attention. And when you start crossing into territory where people feel like you're disrespecting legends, the reaction changes. It's no longer just debate. It becomes emotional. Fans take it personally. They defend what they believe in. And suddenly, what started as a viral moment turns into something much bigger. Now add Maino back into the picture. Because while Jim Jones is pushing forward, Maino is the one who has to deal with the in-between. The conversations behind the scenes. The looks. The subtle shifts in energy when he's around people who respect Nas. And that's where things get complicated. Because this isn't just about music anymore. This is about relationships. This is about respect. This is about how one statement can ripple through an entire network of connections. Take someone like Fabulous, for example, someone who has a solid relationship with Nas and moves within similar circles. When comments like this start circulating, it changes the dynamic. Even if nobody says anything directly, the energy shifts. And in this industry, energy matters. It's in the handshake that feels a little shorter. The conversation that feels a little more careful. The silence that says more than words ever could. That's the part people don't see. They see the clips. They see the viral moments. But they don't see what happens after the cameras stop rolling. They don't see the tension that lingers. The thoughts that run through your mind when you realize, yeah, this situation might be bigger than I expected. And that's exactly where this story is right now. Caught between strategy and reality. Because on one side, you've got a content game that rewards boldness, controversy, and viral moments. And on the other side, you've got real-life consequences that don't just disappear when the clip stops trending. So now the question becomes, how far is too far? At what point does chasing attention start costing more than it's worth? And more importantly, what happens next when these worlds collide again? Because let's not act like this is over. If anything, this is just getting started. See, situations like this don't just disappear. They don't fade out quietly. They build. They sit in the background, waiting for the next moment, the next interview, the next unexpected run-in to bring everything right back to the surface. And with names like Nas and Jim Jones involved, you already know the culture is watching closely. Now here's where things take another turn. Because while fans are busy debating stats, streams, and legacy, the artists themselves move differently. Especially someone like Nas. He's not known for jumping into messy back-and-forth drama. He's calculated. He's calm. He understands his position in the game. Which makes this whole situation even more interesting. Because silence? Silence can be louder than any response. And right now, that silence is doing numbers. It's making people think. It's making people question everything that's been said. Because when someone at Nas's level doesn't respond, it almost forces the conversation to shift. It turns the spotlight back onto the person who made the claim in the first place. And that's where the pressure starts to build on Jim Jones. Because going viral is one thing, but maintaining that same energy when the spotlight stays on you? That's different. That's where people start looking deeper. They start comparing catalogs. They start revisiting history. They start asking real questions about impact, influence, and consistency. And let's be real, those are conversations that don't always favor everyone equally. But here's the part nobody wants to say out loud. Jim Jones might already know that. He might understand exactly where he stands in terms of legacy. But at the same time, he also understands something else, the power of attention. The power of being talked about. Because in today's industry, relevance isn't just about what you did. It's about what people are saying about you right now. And right now, people are talking. But while all of this plays out publicly, there's still that other side of the story, the side that involves Maino. Because Maino is still in that position where every move matters, every word matters, and every appearance becomes another opportunity for this situation to come back up. And you can already see it happening. Interview after interview, podcast after podcast, the same topic keeps circling back. The same questions keep getting asked. And even when the answers stay consistent, the pressure doesn't go away. If anything, it builds. Because now it's not just about what happened, it's about how long you can stand on it. And that's where things start to feel heavy. Because loyalty has a limit. Not in terms of respect, but in terms of reality. There comes a point where you can't just ride with something blindly. You have to acknowledge what it is. You have to recognize when a situation is bigger than just picking sides. And this is one of those situations. Because when you strip everything down, this isn't really about who's better anymore. That conversation was already decided for most people a long time ago. This is about how the game is being played today. It's about how controversy is being used as a tool. It's about how viral moments are shaping narratives in real time. And it's about how quickly things can shift when those narratives leave the internet and enter real life. Now think about this. What happens if Jim Jones and Nas cross paths again, but this time, the cameras are rolling? Not a random story, not a secondhand account, but actual footage. You already know what that would do. That would break the internet. Because now it's no longer speculation. It's no longer interpretation. It's real. It's visible. And every reaction, every expression, every word would be analyzed down to the smallest detail. That's the kind of moment that defines narratives. And whether people admit it or not, that possibility is sitting in the background right now, waiting. But here's where things get even deeper. Because while all of this is happening, the fans are playing a huge role in how this story continues. They're not just watching, they're fueling it. Every comment, every share, every reaction adds more energy to the situation. And in a way, that's what keeps it alive. Because the audience today doesn't just consume content, they interact with it. They shape it. They decide what trends and what fades away. And right now, they've decided that this is worth paying attention to. But attention can be unpredictable. The same people who hype something up can turn on it just as fast. The same crowd that supports you today can question you tomorrow. And in a situation like this, where emotions and opinions are already running high, that shift can happen at any moment. That's why this moment is so critical. Because it's not just about what's been said, it's about what happens next. Does Jim Jones double down? Does he push it even further? Or does he shift the narrative before things go too far? And what about Maino? Does he continue to stand firm no matter what? Or does he start creating some distance to protect his own position? These are the questions that haven't been answered yet. And until they are, this story stays alive. Because in the end, this isn't just a moment, it's a turning point. A moment where the line between entertainment and reality gets blurred. A moment where words start carrying more weight than expected. And a moment where everyone involved has to decide how they're going to move moving forward. So yeah, this isn't over. Not even close. If anything, the real story is just beginning. Because now we've reached the point where everything slows down on the surface, but underneath? That's where the real movement is happening. This is the phase people usually overlook. No loud headlines. No crazy viral clips every second. Just silence, mixed with observation. And in situations like this, silence doesn't mean nothing is happening. It means everybody is watching, calculating, and waiting for the right moment to move. And trust this, moves are coming. Because when names like Nas, Jim Jones, and Maino get tied into one narrative like this, it never just fades away. It evolves. Now here's where things get real. At some point, somebody is going to break the silence. It might not be direct. It might not be aggressive. But it's going to happen. Maybe it's a slick line in a verse. Maybe it's a subtle comment in an interview. Or maybe it's just a look, a reaction, a moment caught on camera that says everything without saying a word. That's how this game works. Because not every response needs to be loud to be effective. And if there's one thing we know about Nas, it's that he doesn't move off impulse. He moves with intention. So if he chooses to address this, even in the smallest way, it's going to carry weight. And when that happens, everything shifts again. Because now it's no longer just fans debating or media speculating. Now it's coming from the source. And once that door opens, there's no controlling where the conversation goes next. But let's flip the perspective for a second. Because while everyone is focused on what Nas might do, there's still the question of what Jim Jones does next. Does he stay loud? Does he double down again? Or does he pivot? Because make no mistake, every move from this point forward matters more than the last. If he leans too far into the controversy, it could start to backfire. What once felt entertaining could start feeling forced. And audiences can pick up on that fast. But if he pulls back too much, it might look like he's retreating. Like the energy that started all of this wasn't strong enough to carry through. And in a game built on perception, that matters. So now he's walking a fine line. A line between staying relevant and risking credibility. And that's not an easy place to be. Meanwhile, Maino is still navigating his own path through all of this. And at this stage, his role becomes even more important because he represents the bridge between both worlds. He understands the culture. He respects the legacy. But he's also tied to the present moment and everything that comes with it. And being in that position, that's pressure on a different level. Because now it's not just about what he says, it's about what he doesn't say. Every pause, every reaction, every slight hesitation, people notice it all. And the longer this situation stays alive, the harder it becomes to stay neutral without looking like you're avoiding something. That's why this final stage is so critical. Because this is where decisions define everything. Not just for the moment, but for how this entire situation is remembered moving forward. And speaking of memory, let's talk about legacy for a second. Because at the core of all this noise, all this debate, all this back and forth, that's really what this comes down to. Legacy. What you've done, what you've built, and how people remember your name when the moment passes. For someone like Nas, that legacy is already solid. It's been tested over time. It's been respected across generations. And it's not something that can be easily shaken by a few viral moments. But for others, moments like this can define narratives in real time. They can shape how people view you, not just today, but long term. And that's why this situation carries so much weight. Because it's not just about who said what, it's about what it represents. It represents the clash between old school respect and new school strategy, between legacy and relevance, between speaking for the moment and standing the test of time. And right now, all of that is colliding in one story. Now here's the final layer to all of this. The audience. Because at the end of the day, they decide how this story ends. Not the artists, not the platforms, not the interviews. The people watching, they decide what matters. They decide what sticks. They decide what gets remembered and what gets forgotten. And right now, they're fully locked in, watching every move, breaking down every detail, waiting for that one moment that shifts everything again. So the real question isn't just what happens next. It's how it all ends. Does this turn into a full-blown lyrical situation? Does it stay as tension without direct confrontation? Or does it fade out quietly, leaving behind questions that never get fully answered? Because all three outcomes are possible. And that's what makes this so unpredictable. But one thing is certain. Nobody involved is walking away from this unchanged. Not Jim Jones. Not Maino. And definitely not the conversation around Nas. Because once a narrative like this gets created, it leaves a mark. It becomes part of the story. Part of the history. Part of how people look back and say, yeah, I remember when that happened. And maybe that was the goal all along. To create a moment so loud, so undeniable, that it couldn't be ignored. If that's the case, then mission accomplished. But now comes the part that really matters. What happens after the noise dies down? Because that's where the truth always shows itself. And whether this was strategy, emotion, or a mix of both, one thing is clear, this wasn't just talk. This was a moment. And moments like this? They don't just disappear, they echo. Now it's on you. What do you think really happened here? Was this all calculated? Or did things go too far? Drop your thoughts below and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to stay tapped into every update as this story continues to unfold. Alright, fam, now that you've seen the full breakdown, it's time to get real with me for a second. This situation isn't just about Jim Jones or Nas, or even Maino. It's about understanding the game, the strategy, and the consequences that come with every word you put out there. And you know what? This is your chance to join the conversation. Hit that like button if you feel the tension, the pressure, and the reality of how viral moments can spill into real life. Trust me, nobody wants to just scroll past this. You want every detail, every reaction, every twist. So like, share, and make sure your friends see this, because this story isn't slowing down anytime soon. Comment below and tell me what you think. Was Jim Jones playing the game smart, or did he go too far? Was Maino right to stay loyal, or should he have shifted the energy? And let's not forget Nas. Does he even need to respond, or is silence his power move? I want to hear your thoughts, predictions, and takes, because your input keeps this story alive. And if you're not subscribed yet, now's the time. Hit that subscribe button and tap the notification bell so you never miss a single update, reaction, or exclusive breakdown. This channel is where the real stories get dissected, where every angle is explored, and where the drama actually makes sense. Stay tuned, because the next chapter in this saga could change everything, and you're going to want to be here for it. Don't just watch, engage, react, and be part of the conversation. The game isn't over, and neither is the story.